Hello, Booktube. I went back to the Brattle Bookshop this morning, even though I was there just a couple of days ago. And I had three reasons. I had a three-pronged reason for going there. Prong number one was that I recently had a friend over for a quick visit, and when visits are over like that, I tend to want to mope. And this time I tried to say nope to the mope. I tried to confront it directly and not do that, so that it isn't 2 days before I make a video for my imaginary booktube friends. So that was one reason, was to go, get out, and do something. And then prong number two is that at least one weather forecast for Boston is predicting a large amount of rain in the next 2 days. The day after that being a national holiday. So that takes me all the way to the end of the week before I could go. So I thought, that's converging on a reason enough. I usually go to the Brattle right before a major weather storm. And prong number three is that I just had other guests. Ami, from whatever his channel is called, Ami and then some number, and Lukash from A Cruel Reader's Thesis came to Boston to see the Brattle, to visit, and we had a wonderful time. We went to the shop on a Saturday morning in the rain. So although we had a wonderful time, it was not a wonderful Brattle visit for me, because it was raining, so the sale carts weren't out in the sale lot next door, and it was also Saturday, so the place was mobbed. So all three of those prongs led me to think that I really should go back to the shop this morning. So I did. It was crisp and clear and dry. It was lovely, and I got a pile of books. So I want to show them to you and natter about them just a bit. And the first three are mass market paperbacks, even though my love affair with mass market paperbacks is winding down. I'm making a mental note not to get as many of them as I used to hoover them up. But they just aren't convenient. They aren't as convenient or comfortable for me to read. Actually, nothing is more comfortable than reading on my Kindle. But even so, they're not really comfortable to read, and they're also delicate. Most of them are delicate. So I restrained myself. I got three, and the only reason I got these three is pure whim. They were $1 a piece. The first one is a yellow spine Daw science fiction. These are the reason for existence for a lot of science fiction fans. I really like them, and I found one today that I have never read. This is by Barrington Bailey, who I think was a UK science fiction writer, and it's called Star Winds. And this is the iconic look of these things, is that they have these yellow spines. There are hundreds of these things show up at the Brattle every year, and a lot of them don't interest me in the slightest. But this one, I mean, this is a little beaten up, but I'll still get a read out of this. They all have these one little illustration at the beginning. This is about a civilization that has lost a lot of its technology and is adapting sailing terminology and sailing principles to harnessing the solar winds. The plot of it sounds good, and I don't think I've ever read this author at all, much less this book. So I grabbed it, even though it's a mass market paperback. And then this other mass market paperback I got is historical fiction, and I will never see this. Never. Much less with this dorky, wonderful cover. This is John Jakes, the author of The Bastard, that became a gigantic hit and then became an even bigger hit when it was adapted for TV. And that caused publishers to scour their backlists for any John Jakes or his pseudonym that they found that they had in their possession, and flush it out into the open with his name big as life on the front cover. And this is historical fiction along those lines. This is The Veils of Salome, with a seductress there with a Roman soldier, and that's what this is about. Herodias. Herodias, who famously ordered Salome to dance. She was a woman of unrelenting ambition and lust, a woman possessed. She was a wife and a mother, but she was also determined to become a first lady of Roman society at any cost. If her husband could not achieve this goal, then she would, even if she had to victimize her own daughter. Against every wish and plan, the beautiful daughter of Herodias would chance to meet the handsome young physician Marcus. But affairs of family and state, and the most selfish and violent passion of a demented people, would soon crush their romance in a frustrating series of events. Uh, so I'm assuming that's Marcus on the cover. I don't really know, but I've never read this. I've read a lot of John Jakes. He wrote a lot. It's amazing that in the popular imagination, for a while there in the 70s, he was a one-book author. Nothing could be further from the truth. But that's what happens when you write a hit. And then the last mass market paperback that I got is part of my singular, lonely, bitter, incel booktube event for one. A private booktube event called Deadly December, which I'm doing supposed to be December, but I've started early, to try and overdose on murder mysteries. Can I actually do that? I love reading murder mysteries. So I want to reread a ton of them. I want to find a ton of new ones and read them, and there's an endless number. Mysteries are just like Westerns. There's an endless number out there. But this is an author that I've read before. And I found a mass market paperback of what I think is the first book in this series. And when I read these before, I found a bunch of really cheap hardcovers and read a few of them. I don't think I read the first one in the series. And I liked them, but they seemed fairly well-mannered, which is death to a murder mystery. This is by James Melville, and it is The Wages of Zen. And I don't know if you can make that out on the cover. This is a Superintendent Otani mystery. Okay, great. It says right on the back. I didn't notice that. This does introduce him. So this is the first one. Tetsuo Otani is superintendent of the Hyogo Prefecture Police. He and his adoring wife enjoy a comfortable life. Sake in the evenings as he tells her about his cases, gentle teasing on her part about his precious Rotary Club, ceremonial visits from their newly married daughter and her fine young husband. Murder is a rare crime in Japan, and the superintendent's current case is most unusual. At the Chisoji-gen Study Center in the Misty Hills near Takahashi, 5 foreigners have gathered to learn the practice of ancient teachings of the Zen masters, and one of them, an Irish Catholic priest, has been found dead in the snow, murdered by someone at the sacred Buddhist temple. Was it the long-haired Danish hippie, middle-aged Jewish lady from England, the serious American girl with a shaved head, her lover, the spunky, outspoken black girl from New Jersey? Or, perish the thought, was it a Zen master himself? Well, it's a dead Catholic Irish priest, so your culprit is going to be Irish. So just check into the genealogies of all of those people. But I don't think I've ever read the first book in this series, so I found it as a mass market paperback. I won't keep it, but for Deadly December, it's worth it. And then I found a trade paperback, and this also is really connected to Deadly December. This is nonfiction about murder mysteries, which I love. I realized when I was looking around when I got back here from the Brattle, I have quite a bit of nonfiction about murder mysteries. This is edited by, who edits this? Martin Edwards, and it's called How Done It. You've got a fingerprint that is all of the names of the writers. A very clever cover design. It's called How Done It, as opposed to Who Done It. So this is a collection of essays about writing murder mysteries by everybody. Some of these things are 3 pages long, some are 10 pages long, some are just a paragraph long. Masterpieces of crime writing by members of the Detection Club. So this came out in 2022. I think this is a UK thing. I don't recall ever seeing this book before. And we have a section on motives, a section on how to begin a mystery, a section on people, places, more on motives, modus operandi, perspectives, plots, detectives, research, everything. All the elements that go into making murder mysteries. Not a how-to book, really, but rather how I did it. A whole bunch of writers talking about those aspects, which, comes in handy because I am still trying to write a murder mystery that I myself am happy with. But this is going to be fascinating anyway. I don't know precisely how the binding is going to hold up on this thing, but I am only expecting to get one read out of it, one lonely read. Okay, then these next two are part of a little ongoing war. There's an author. There are a lot of authors out there that I don't particularly like. I don't hate them, but they usually strike me as overbilled, undernourishing, and Robert Benchley of New Yorker fame is one of those writers. A famous low-key wit that I have read a lot by him, and all of it strikes me as long on the low key and short on the wit. Just a hapless guy encounters the world type stuff. And earlier this year, I was a little tormented by the fact that I've been just writing this guy off. And the Brattle got a bunch of Robert Benchley. And I got some of them against my own wishes to try to see if I can like him. I got From Bed to Worse. I got After 1903, What? And I got Benchley's Bed Beside Himself. And as you can see from these covers, all of these books are illustrated throughout by Gluyas Williams, who is a great New Yorker cartoonist. I have an entire collection of his cartoons, but also I love pausing on his cartoons in big New Yorker collections of everybody. And he must have been, I don't actually know the details. I should go back to Brendan Gill's Here at the New Yorker and find out. I don't know the details of why this is. Were they just friends? Of why this partnership went through so many books. But whatever the reason for it, it did. So when you're reading through these things, you will get Gluyas Williams illustrations all throughout that are always funny. They're taking off from the books. I got those 3 earlier in the year, and I read From Bed to Worse. I haven't gone to the other 2 yet, but I read From Bed to Worse, and I actually did like it more than I don't think I've ever read From Bed to Worse again. I've read After 1903 What before, but I probably read some of the pieces in From Bed to Worse in other anthologies. I read the whole thing, and I thought it was charming. I didn't fall in love with it, but it wasn't anywhere near as dumb and derivative as I originally thought. So today, I got 2 more Robert Benchleys, and that is it. I am done with Robert Benchley. I will now have a little shelf of him to go to see, to read, and to see if maybe I can find more worth in him. And these are also illustrated by Gluyas Williams throughout. So the worst case scenario, I don't find any much worth in him. I'm still going to have all this artwork that's never going to be collected anywhere else. Even in the big Gluyas Williams volume from the New Yorker, it's just his New Yorker stuff. It's not his artwork from books. He illustrated a lot of books, not just Benchley's. And none of that stuff is, as far as I know, none of it is collected. So I found, of all things, just another collection of stories of a hapless guy having hapless adventures out in the confusing world. And then my 10 years in a quandary and how they grew. Both of these will go on the shelf with these other 3, and that'll be it for Robert Benchley. That, I think 5 books is probably enough for an author that I'm not in love with. And, where am I ever going to find these original hardcovers? Where am I ever going to find even one of them? If the Brattle serves them up, I should probably take them. So I did. And then I got a novel. I guess I had Mysteries on the Brain, but I really like this novel, and it's been a long time since I read it. Probably 40 years. Almost exact. Yeah, exactly. 1985, this came out. This is John Mortimer, who is famous for murder mysteries. He is famous for his Rumpole of the Bailey series. But this is not that. He wrote other things as well, and this is his book Paradise Postponed, which is not a murder mystery. It's nothing to do with Rumpole. It's nothing to do with London. It's just a small town cathedral story, a story of a split family struggling with their relations to each other, and they're transforming identities on their own. I read this in a trade paperback, an orange spine trade paperback from Penguin, a long time ago. So it wouldn't have been 1985. It's almost 40 years. It would have been after 85. I didn't read it in hardcover originally. I read it in a trade paperback that I have never found. I don't know why I got rid of mine. It didn't look like this. It had an even lovelier cover. But that trade paperback is long gone, and I've never seen it again in the wild. So I got this. I got the hardcover. It's more durable anyway. And I will give this another read at the end of the year, which is fast approaching, as I am almost out of my obligation to new releases for this year. Once my best lists, my Steve Reed's lists of the best and worst books of the year, once they are completely nailed down and finalized, I am done with new releases until the next year. So I'll have a yawning gap of time to read things that aren't new releases. Then I have seen this before, and I've never really delved into it. And I saw it today, and for some reason I thought, maybe you do want to try that. Even when this first came out, and this came out like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 1994. Even when this came out originally, and it was getting written up everywhere, it got a generous review in the New York Times. I was thinking, there's not enough there to make it interesting to me. It's Southern history. It's Bertram Wyatt Brown's book, The House of Percy. But don't confuse that with the Kings of the North. This is not about the actual House of Percy in the north of England, except tangentially, because the Percys claim descent. It's this thing. And the main focus of it is Walker Percy, the novelist, the author of The Moviegoer. But I guess I would be willing to bet that this author started this project out by wanting to write simply a literary biography of Walker Percy, and instead found so much family lore, all of it carefully documented and preserved, that he thought, there's a bigger story here. Walker Percy can still be the narrative focus, but there's a bigger story here, lots of other characters. So, I am scandalously not a fan of Walker Percy. I don't think he's that good a writer, which seems heretical to say about the author of The Moviegoer, but nevertheless, I would be more interested in a biography of him alone, because that would be delving deep into his connections with the literary world. Lots of writers that I do like would crop up all through it. This is going to read basically like a literarily competent Faulkner novel, because it's going to be full of characters that I don't know and who made no impression on history at all. Walker Percy will be in here too, but so will all the grand dames and the coltish 16-year-old girls, and I guarantee you at some point in the Percy family history there's a man who goes by Big Daddy or something like that. All the usual Southern claptrap. So I've never tried this. Every time I have seen it or picked it up or watched it on a bookshelf, I have always thought, gee, I wish it were about the Percys. I wish it were about the Percys of the north of England. Enter into history in a number of different ways. Most conveniently, probably the highest profile would be Harry Percy, who was the intended husband of Anne Boleyn. And according to some interpreters of the records, she loved him and never loved Henry, and was bitterly resentful towards Cardinal Wolsey for forcing her to break with Harry Percy so that she is free for the king. I don't know that I'd leave any of that, but it's not about them. I'm assuming from that effigy that there will be some of that in here. But Southern history, I'll give it a try. And then the last two things that I got here are larger format, and I'm usually as wary of those as I am of mass market paperbacks. Mass market paperbacks fall apart, and larger books become white elephants. I read them, I flip through them once or twice, and then suddenly they never fit on a shelf, and I'm moving them around, and they're irritating me. I've had a lot more of them in the past than I have now, but so to buy even one, much less two, was a stretch, but I figured, why not? While I'm there, and also one of them at least I know, and it really interests me, and that is this. This is a big pictorial edition of Kenneth Clark's book on Leonardo da Vinci. This big thing, which I have had this hardcover before, and I've had this book as a little Penguin mass market paperback that had a brittle spine and an inset in the middle of a bunch of black and white reproductions of Da Vinci's artwork. And this here, the artwork is reproduced in much greater detail. But it's the same book otherwise, and Clark is really good. He's not minding his manners in this book the way he does in so much of his writing. So there are huge chunks of this book that are instantly quotable. And I figured, I saw it and I thought, well, you don't want the mass market anymore. Even if you found it, you'd be reluctant to get it because it will fall apart and because the print is so small and whatnot. So why not get this? It's probably my favorite Leonardo da Vinci biography. It wouldn't be the one that I would recommend. Sergei Bramley would probably be the one that I would recommend, or even Walter Isaacson. But not this, because Kenneth Clark is assuming that you know a lot about Leonardo da Vinci. This is not meant, it's merely meant to be a biographical meditation on da Vinci, and it's great for that. But I'm definitely going to want it over on the newly prettied up biography wall. And then this other thing is even bigger, and this is just a detailed catalog of the artwork in the Boston Athenaeum. This is a private library here in Boston that I am a member of, and that I love. I love it dearly. I haven't been there in years. It just never seems to make sense. It just never does. I mean, how would it make sense? So I take the Bean out for a morning walk, and then we come back in, and I give her some breakfast, and then I pack my laptop in my bag and leave her to go someplace and do all sorts of typing on that laptop that I could easily do with her. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I haven't done it. I don't know if that will change when she's a little older. Most of the dogs that I've had, when they get a little older, start sleeping 20 hours a day, and I'm deep sleeping, so they're not going to notice that I'm not here. In which case, I'm a little more free to wander. This dog has not really shown any signs of that. She's pretty alert pretty much all the time, but you never know. But I doubt that I would do it. It's just too comfortable. I mean, how many years did I wait? How many years did I work at a desk, type and write and read at a desk, and then need to go to a library for their research materials? When I don't need to do any of that anymore. I can do it all on this little device. So, but anyway, this is a catalog of all of the artwork that is in the Athenaeum. And those of you who so you get each piece named and described at the front, and then the whole of the back is the artwork with corresponding numbers, so you can look up what you're looking at and see. And this goes on for page after page after page, because the Athenaeum is not your normal library. It's crowded with artwork. It looks like a museum. It looks like not only a museum, but a European museum when you're there. I mean, it's very, very relaxing to go and just sit in a window seat and read periodicals while the world goes by outside. I just haven't done it. I can't foresee that it would ever be a regular part of my routine again. So having a book of the artwork, I don't have any other book of Athenaeum artwork, so having a book of the artwork is the next best thing. So there you go. That was a morning trip to the Brattle to say nope to the mope. And it largely worked. I'm making a video now. It evened my keel for the rest of the day. I came back and fussed with my little baby and fell behind on a lot of the work that I need to do. So I will do all that now. But I got a video in on the same day that a guest left. I think that's a mark of improvement, right? So we found the artwork of the Athenaeum. We found Kenneth Clark's illustrated hardcover edition, his large updated edition of his Life of Leonardo. Paradise Postponed by John Mortimer, the author of Rumpole of the Bailey. The House of Percy, about Walker Percy's family. I tell you. Well, I found How Done It, about the mechanics of murder mystery writing. My 10 Years in a Quandary and How They Grew, by Robert Benchley, and also Of All Things by Robert Benchley. And 3 mass market paperbacks. Where are they? See, they're already disappearing on me. So I found book number 1 in the Otani series. I found The Veils of Salome by John Jakes, and Star Winds by a science fiction author from the 1970s? 1978. That I've never read. I don't think I've ever read Barrington Bailey, so it'll be a new experience, whether the thing survives or not. Most of these things will survive. The mass market paperbacks might fall apart. Their spines might break. The How Done It book, pretty sure the spine is going to break. But the rest of these are hardcovers, so they'll be fine. But of all of these, you know, I always say that I want to have at least one thing from the Brattle visit that day follow me into the little book room when I do my reading at night. And the one thing of here that probably will is a reread of Leonardo da Vinci. That's probably the thing that I will do. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. And hopefully this means the video tomorrow. So if so, I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.